Hey, it's Joseph here. I've got a box over here from Fifine or Fifine, and it is an Fifine Tank series microphone that I want to showcase today. And it is the same series as this microphone that I have showcased in the past on the channel, which is called Tank 3. And if you haven't seen that video already, please do so. I'll leave the link in the description. And inside of this box, there's another microphone called K688T. The T stands for including a boom arm or the microphone stand. And whilst it is sort of an older microphone from Fifine, I think it has features that I really like. So let's check it out. So on the box, it is relatively simple. As you can see, it just says Fifine and Fifine Tank and nothing else really. With a fine print here, it says the product name, Fifine Dynamic Podcast Heavy Duty Boom Arm K688T. So let me go ahead and open it. It has a protective foam, and underside of that is the picture of what this microphone is supposed to be, including the boom arm. It's all sort of standard stuff, but I'll keep this aside just in case. And we've got this bag with the zip tie for cable management and different thread for the microphone stand just in case. This is the feet for the boom arm. Let me widen it up so that I can mount onto my desk. And then there is the boom arm, which will just kind of open up like this. And then here is the USB cable. Undo the zip tie, and it will expose the USB Type A on one end and then USB Type C on the other side. I believe the microphone itself receives USB Type C, therefore this end is meant for your computer, laptops, and such. And lastly, the actual microphone. Here's the actual look of the microphone, and it is looking quite simple, yet not overly built. And I mean that by not being so heavy or anything like that. I like those aspects. And this foam cover is not the regular type of foam. I would say it is kind of softer to touch, I would say. I like this gray foam really. And there's a logo, Fifine. And going around there is not a button, but an LED indicator, perhaps letting you know whether it is muted or not. And another logo on the other side. And this foam is capable of coming out like that. Sometimes some foams do smell awful, but this doesn't. And it's got the mesh around the actual diaphragm of the microphone, and it is pop filter kind of going onto that, and it makes this kind of simplistic form. And you've got the built-in shock mount, but it is not internal to the microphone, rather it is all built into the frame here so that you can mount it onto the boom arm, which is aspect that I like, onto the back of the microphone with the two knobs and XLR output possible as well. Here's a headphone jack for you to monitor with no delays, and connect the USB Type-C port on here for connection. So two different type of connectivity is possible. Today I'm only going to test out USB Type-C because that's what I'm interested in today. By the infographics here, this one is a microphone gain volume. I'm gonna keep it at 50%. And then this one is a headphone volume, which is a monitoring, and I'm gonna keep it at 50% as well. And I like having the separate knob for this because often microphones don't have these separated. It either has only one control available, which is the gain or the monitoring sound, and everything else is either done through software or just doesn't offer that sort of option for the users. Whereas here, both are offered here and you can change it quite easily. So I like that aspect. Other than that, it's got the standard mount over here, which you can untie the knob so that you can angle it however you'd like. And this is going to thread into the boom arm that's over here. I believe the thread size over here is 5/8. However, you can often find a boom arm with 3/8, which you can adopt to quite easily with a little adapter. But here, obviously, they meant for these to be used together, so no problem threading that in. And then you just gotta use the knobs to adjust to the position that you would like. And let me actually move my microphone over here so that the arm is sticking out from this side rather than here, which is not a usual format for me to kind of turn around this way. And I can just kind of turn the microphone this way so that I can comfortably speak into it. And I just gotta connect the cable. And whilst that, I'll do a bit of a talking, but something that I like about this specific microphone form factor is the fact that it doesn't take up a lot of space. Often you have this giant shock mount for the microphone and it just covers a lot of view and you can't really speak to the camera and make a sort of an eye contact. There's a lot of area of your face that gets covered by the gear in front of you. So having a bit of a setup like this where you can just talk directly into the microphone, yet a lot of your face is shown, allows you to kind of talk to the audience. So I like that aspect. And because the microphone is not that heavy, it is going to be supported by multiple type of boom arms out there that are relatively easier to get as well as much easier to manipulate with. But this boom arm is definitely heavy duty. It can probably support microphones that are a lot heavier than this microphone. It's doing a pretty good job. I can just adjust it however I would like and it's gonna keep its position. Okay, I just gotta connect that USB. I'm gonna wrap it around this arm a couple of times to make sure it looks kind of tidy. I usually try to thread into the boom arm if possible and connect to the microphone so that the cabling is somewhat tidy. You don't want to have a huge amount of tension, otherwise it is going to transfer some noise from the boom arm onto the microphone. And also when boom arms are moving, they do just kind of extend the amount of cable length needed a bit. So you want to allow a bit of a movement possible when you're kind of using these type of cable system. Otherwise you're going to stretch this cable too far. So you don't want to kind of tighten it too much. But I'm using this zip tie to just kind of cable manage around the arm. And then I've connected the USB type A port onto my computer. And also let me connect to a headset so that I can monitor my sound as well. And because now I have connected the USB type A port, this microphone is definitely being picked up. I can confirm it by seeing the gain monitor on my computer. So let me switch so that you can hear my voice through this microphone. Microphone testing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now you should be hearing the sound through the Fifine K688 microphone. And this is the testing of it, and this is what you can hear through it. And I can adjust the gain by turning knobs over here. Microphone testing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This is lowering the gain. And this is lowering the gain, and eventually you'll hear nothing. And as I up the gain, you should be hearing louder and louder sound. You can definitely hear the volume difference. I'm at max right now and it should be too loud. So I'm going to lower the volume a little bit to just comfortable range over here. And obviously the amount of gain that you're going to have is going to depend on how close you speak to the microphone. I'm about 3 inches away from microphone at this point, and this seemingly is a good amount of gain for me to adjust later if needed. And the monitoring is quite minimal at this time, so I'm gonna also adjust the monitoring volume so that I can hear my voice much better on the headset. And I actually have increased it to the 100%, and I can hear my voice very clear now, and I prefer this kind of volume for my sound monitoring. And the volume will definitely depend on the headset that you're wearing, how sensitive it is as well. But in this case, I'm using the Rhodes headset and I can monitor myself just fine through this volume over here, and there is no delay, therefore I have no problem speaking through it. So this was a short sound testing of Fifine K688. And it is a T variant, including the boom arm. Obviously, that's not going to make any difference in the sound, but I do want to do a comparison with the Tank 3, which is a microphone that I have tested recently and promised that I'll do a comparison with. Okay, now I have switched over, and this is a Tank 3 attached onto the same boom arm, so you can hear the sound difference. And this is a Fifine Tank 3, and doing a bit of a sound comparison here. And let's test out the plosives. Pop, 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 plosives. And there is a bit that makes its way onto the recording. I can hear that on my monitoring. However, it may be slightly different on actual recording. So let's see. If you're not too close to the microphone, where I am about 2 inches away from the microphone, maybe add another inch, and if you speak to it, then I don't have any problem with those plosives. However, it just depends on the angle and the proximity of the sound source onto the microphone, and I prefer the fact that it has a very small profile in terms of the microphone size and the setup. Therefore, it doesn't cover as much as this microphone, the K688. However, the pop filter is not as rejecting. And another aspect that I wanted to demonstrate is the fact that it transmits sound onto the microphone because it doesn't have the robust external built shock mount. It claims that it has an internal shock mount, but I found that it doesn't do a good job of rejecting the resonating sound from all the tapping that goes around on the desk. So if you're on this sort of stand, I think it is going to reject quite a bit of a sound because this stand itself is somewhat more flexible than this boom arm, and if you're using the boom arm from Fifine or this specific boom arm that is kind of solidly built, the sound that I make or the tapping that I do on the desk is going to make its way onto the arm and onto the microphone without being rejected via flexible shock mount that is going to reject the sound, whereas this one is just going to register all of those taps into the microphone. So if I accidentally just kind of bump the desk, then it is going to make its way onto the microphone, and it is not going to be a bit of a tap. It will be more of sort of a bing, dang, more resonating sound. Obviously, the closer I tap to the arm, the more it's going to be. So I guess that's sort of a trade-off. Let me switch back onto the K688. And in terms of the controls, it has 2 knobs on its side and a button up on top here, which signifies whether this is muted or not, which is good. It changes color and it's easily visible, and it is a tactile button that you can be sure that you have pressed it versus not. Whereas here, the knobs are not really visible since it's all on the back. And also there is a mute button, which is sort of a touch sensitive button. So if I bump it, then you can't hear any sound. A good thing is if I'm monitoring my sound, as soon as I activate the mute, then the monitoring goes away, therefore letting me know that I am definitely not inputting any sound. However, I can easily bump that accidentally, and I do not like that. And in this configuration, it is kind of below the microphone, so I can't really see it. Okay, so I've just kind of reconfigured the arm a little bit so that I can actually see the LED indicator for muting versus not muting. I suppose if the arm was actually outside of this frame and reaching in, this configuring is a lot easier, but I'm trying to keep everything within the frame so you guys could see what is sort of going on. So that's just my struggle there, but I can definitely hear my sound very clearly and monitor it whilst being able to record, and it's sounding very good as well. So what do you guys think? Okay, so now we're back to K688, and this is what it sounds like. Obviously, we've tested before, but I really like the fact that this is, whilst it is slightly bigger than Tank 3, it is still minimal profile. It is not as big, and I do like this soft gray pop filter, and this shock mount is doing a great job in terms of rejecting all the bumps that are going on the table. I'm doing the same test that I did on Tank 3. It is not rejecting this sound very well. However, this is rejecting quite a lot of sound that is bumping onto the microphone via this external shock mount. So it is doing a fantastic job. I really like that aspect because I will be tapping onto the desk, either doing product review or typing on the keyboard, that sort of thing. Let's do a typing test. Because my keyboard is a mechanical keyboard, it is not going to reject every single sound that is caused by the keyboard. Obviously, if you have a bit more silent keyboard, that wouldn't really be an issue. However, my biggest concern is the fact that when I type, I tend to tap on the desk and my elbow hits the desk every now and then, and it is not resonating sound into the microphone via the boom arm. So I like that aspect. What you guys think? And the biggest aspect that I like about this microphone is a price. This whole setup, the arm and then the microphone minus the monitoring headset and whatnot, but that is only $90 US. With that, you can definitely get a very comfortable setup for either your podcast streaming or video recording type of setup. You can get yourself going with a good sound that sounds like this. So hopefully that was worth it for you. If you did find value in this video, please like this video and consider subscribing to my channel to continue watching these type of videos. And thank you so much for watching. As always, I'll see you next time. Bye.